I'm Jim Wright, creator of the Intervention Central website. This video is another from our Data Pathways series on how to use classroom data to make better instructional and behavioral decisions. Let's start with a problem to solve. The Common Core State Standards contain ambitious student objectives. Take this example, which some of you will recognize is taken from Standard 1 of the English Language Arts Grade 5 Speaking and Listening Standards. The student will engage effectively in a range of collaborative discussions with diverse partners on Grade 5 topics and texts, building on others' ideas and expressing their own clearly. To include coming to discussions prepared, having completed all assigned readings, following discussion, rules, and carrying out assigned roles, contributing to discussions by posing and responding to specific questions. And so to the problem. How do you measure a standard as complex as this? To begin with, this standard includes multiple performance criteria, such as being prepared, following rules, and being an active participant in discussions. So we're trying to track multiple targets. Additionally, students vary greatly in their abilities, so we need a measurement approach that's flexible enough to allow us to give partial credit, kind of a sliding scale for each criterion. The question then is, what measurement tool is out there that's flexible enough and sensitive enough to assess student performance on complex multi-dimensional tasks? The answer is rubrics. But what is a rubric? Well, a rubric can be defined as a document that lays out performance expectations for an academic task by first describing what criteria are important, and then second, providing descriptions of quality along a sliding scale from poor to excellent. So, let's revisit that Grade 5 Speaking and Listening Standard that we just looked at as we review the steps that any teacher would go through to create a rubric. Step 1, to get started, describe the task. The teacher must first put into words the global academic performance task to be evaluated using the rubric. So, for our example, here's the way that our instructor might sum up that Grade 5 Speaking and Listening Standard for group discussions as a global performance task. Student discussion group task. The student will take part in weekly in-class collaborative peer discussions of assigned readings, contributing ideas and responding appropriately to the ideas of others. Step 2. Divide the task into the dimensions that are to be rated. So the teacher now breaks that task down into the logical categories or dimensions that make it up. In our example, our instructor decides that she wishes to rate the student on these dimensions, taken right from the student discussion Common Core Standard. Preparation, compliance with discussion rules and roles, and contribution to discussion. Just a note, by the way, for the remainder of this example, we'll focus on just one dimension, and that is preparation. Step 3. Adopt a rating scale to evaluate student work for each dimension. The next step then is for the teacher to develop a 3 to 5 level rating scale to evaluate student performance on each of the dimensions of the rubric. It can also be helpful for that teacher to devise a plain English labeling system for the levels as well. So, for example, accomplished, average, developing, beginning levels. For our example of a student discussion rubric, this teacher decides to adopt the following rating scale. Exemplary, so that's 7 to 9 points. Competent, 4 to 6 points. And needs work, a range of 1 to 3 points. In this rating scheme, by the way, which is completely optional, each descriptive label is tied to not just a single point, but a point range. And that actually allows the instructor discretion regarding the number of points that she can award for each dimension. Alright, step 4, our final step. The teacher develops qualitative descriptions for each dimension. So for each of those rating levels of the rubric, the instructor writes criteria to describe that level of work quality. In our rubric example, the teacher defines the 3 descending levels of quality for the dimension of performance as follows. Exemplary. So the student has completed the assigned readings, brings notes of the readings to the discussion, and gives evidence of having done additional readings and or research in the discussion topic. Competent. The student has completed the assigned readings and brings notes of the readings to the discussion. Needs work. The student has not completed the assigned readings and or does not bring notes of the readings to the discussion. So, those are the 4 steps to creating a rubric. You know, rubrics possess a number of advantages in the classroom as an assessment tool. They can, for example, provide objective and consistent scoring guidelines. So what rubrics really prompt teachers to do is to develop objective and consistent scoring criteria for complex tasks. This can speed assessment and also improve the reliability of the evaluation. Rubrics also offer guidance to students about work expectations. So rubrics really spell out for students what those work expectations are before they begin an academic task. This potentially improves performance and may also boost student self-confidence and motivation as well. And rubrics also empower students to be able to evaluate their own work, so it's a student tool. Rubrics allow students to judge their own work, helping them to internalize high standards of excellence and giving them immediate performance feedback because they are their own judge. So rubrics are the assessment methods of choice when teachers want to measure a complex task, academic task, that has multiple dimensions and a sliding scale of student performance. As we've seen, rubrics are also good tools for communicating work expectations to students and for enlisting students to judge their own work. So, that's it for this assessment tutorial. If you'd like to read more about how to develop focused, effective rubrics for classroom use, you can visit this web address to download a handout. Just look for the link with the title of this Data Pathways video. That's it. I'm Jim Bright. Thanks for watching.